Hello, Matt Davis here with more homework quiz help. This one comes from section 3.1. After the field in the 2014 World Series of Poker was reduced to 693 players remaining from the initial field of 6,683 players, a random sample of 18 players was chosen. The age of those players are shown below, and we wish to make estimates about the 693 remaining players. What percentage of the sample had an above average age? Round your answer to 2 decimal places and don't enter the percent symbol. We'll talk about the way we write the answer when we get there, but let's go ahead and make some changes first in the order of giving help rather than answers. So what I'm going to do is remove this 42-year-old player from the field. We'll say he just got knocked out. And if we do that, that means that instead of 18 players, we have 17. So that shows up in a couple places, so we'll change those numbers. All right, so now let's go after the question. What percentage of the sample had an above average age? Okay, so if we're going to do that, we need to know what the average age is. And if we're going to do that, I'd like to know what symbol to write down. So just a quick comment here. It says very clearly that it's a random sample. So if we're going to do an average for a sample, so put those two together, that's going to be an X bar. So that's what we want to find first. And that was one of the previous questions before this one. So let's go ahead and hunt down that X bar. We'll go ahead and use the calculator to help us. So I'm going to go ahead and enter all this data into list 1. So if we go over to the calculator to enter data in, we want to hit stat and edit. And if you have data there, you might want to clear it out first. So I actually have already entered the data that we want into L1, but I want to show you how to clear data. So in L2, there's some data we don't need. So let's pretend that was in L1 and we didn't need it. Then I'm using the arrow keys to move around here, and I want to move up so that L2, the title, is highlighted. And if you look down below the table, it lists the things that are in L2. I'm going to press the clear button, and you'll see that list goes empty down below, but the list in the column still seems to be there. If you hit clear and then you follow that with the enter key, that actually clears the data. So the first step of hitting clear kind of sets up the action. Pressing enter executes it. The next thing you do when you have a clear list is enter all your data in. So I went through and I typed all that data into the list, except for the last one. So we had the 21-year-old. Let's add the 61-year-old, and then we'll have everybody. And then the next thing we want to do if we're going to get the mean is come up with a sum. So I'm going to go ahead and just move over a column, and I'm going to use L2 as scratch workspace. So what we can do here is we want the sum of L1. So above the stat key it says list in orange. So if you hit the orange second key, colors might be different on your calculator, but they will kind of be color coded like this. So I hit the second key and now list, which is above stat. And on the far right up top, you see a math option. So I'm going to press that. And then at number 5 in the math options is to find a sum. So I'm going to press that. And so down at the bottom below the table, it says the first entry in list 2 is going to be a sum. So what I want it to be is the sum of list 1. Above the 1 key on the calculator, it says L1 in orange. So if I hit second and then the 1 key, I get that L1. If I press enter, it tells me the sum is 490. Of course, you could just add up the 17 numbers, or in your case, 18 numbers on your calculator in a regular way, but it's good to get used to using these lists to help you out. We're going to do bigger things with the lists in sections to come. All right, so let's go ahead and take that 490 and head back over to the problem we were working on. So just a quick note of how I got that sum. I chose the list menu. And then once I was in the list menu from the upper right, I chose the math menu. And from the math menu, I found sum. And then I told it what column I wanted the sum of. And when I did that, that's where I got the 490. That's helpful to me in getting the sample mean, because the sample mean is the sum of my data, which we now know is 490, divided by the number of pieces of data, which in this case was 17. And then I can go ahead and do that division and get the mean that I wanted. And in that previous problem, they asked us to round that to 1 decimal place. So that's what I'll do here. So 490 divided by 17 is what we need. So if I hit Where it says mode right next to the second key, above that it says quit in orange. So if you hit the second key and then quit, that takes you back to the home screen. And then I can do that 490 divided by 17 that I want, round that to one decimal place. So 28.8, the 8's followed by a 2, so we won't round up, we'll stick with the 8. So 28.8 is our sample mean. So taking that back over here, x bar is approximately 28.8. All right, so that was the previous problem of finding the mean. Now we're going to use that to answer this question, which is what percentage of the sample had an above average age. So what we want to do is find everybody in the sample who is older than 28.8 years old. All their ages have been reported as a whole number, so we want anyone that is 29 or older. So I'm just going to highlight those. I want this one, 29 just barely makes it into the category. This one, this one, this one. I'm just going to make a quick check that everybody I didn't highlight is younger than 28.8. Looks like that's true. So I ended up highlighting 6 out of the 17 people in the table. And they want us to do a percentage for that, but the first step would be a decimal. So heading back over to the calculator, 6 divided by 17. We usually put 4 decimal places on the decimal version of a percentage, so that would be 0.3529. The 9 followed by a 4, so we do not round up, we stick with the 9, so 0.3529. And that's the decimal form of the percentage. So now I would multiply that by 100%, which would move the decimal over 2 spots and add a percent symbol. So 35.29% is going to be my end answer. The only caveat on that being my end answer is they don't want us to put the percent symbol, right? So it says, do not enter the percent symbol. So I'm just going to get rid of that percent symbol when I write my answer into the box and do 35.29. All right, so that's the process. The only thing that I would throw out there is half the questions say to do above average, the other half say to do below average. So if it was below average, we would not want the 6 highlighted ones, which means we would want the other 11 that were below 28.8, and then we'd be doing 11 out of 17 in the same process. All right, I hope this video helped you see where things were going wrong for you and that you're ready to head back and tackle these problems. Good luck to you as you go back to the quiz.